Can you hear me?
I can. My internet sucks here, but I can hear you.
All right. So basically, dude, what this is it's our 40 albums promotion where we're taking the most essential rock records in our history, 40 of them, and like displaying them. We're playing the A sides, the B sides, telling the stories about the records and all that. So Nightmare made the cut, man. How does that make you feel?
All right. Awesome. Thank you, man. It's quite an honor. We appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. So a few years ago, I interviewed Dave Grohl, and I was kind of apprehensive and a little nervous to ask him questions about just even Nirvana questions, or ask him about Kurt Cobain, just because I knew it's got to be a sensitive subject to talk about someone that you were so close with and you lost. And he kind of said to me, he said, "No, dude, what do you want to know? That was years ago." He goes, "I told my publicist once, I don't want to talk about that stuff. And now it's like, I'm an open book, go for it." So it made the interview really cool. But I wanted to ask you the same thing, dude, because obviously it's got to be, close and near and dear to your heart with the loss of the Rev. And obviously this album got a ton to do with him. So do you feel comfortable talking about some of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love talking about him. Like there's, it's been a long time now. So as life goes on, human beings have an ability to kind of cope and to things just get better every day, right?
Sure.
And now I like talking about the stories. When you have the stories that you get to talk about how cool he was, and it makes you feel sad sometimes because it's senseless that he's not here. It's unfortunate that he's not here. It's a mistake and something that didn't have to happen. So that kind of just sucks and it stings.
Sure.
It's kind of salt in the wounds. But at the end of the day, I love talking about him. I'm just glad that I got to know him and live with him for 18 years.
Right.
So yeah, open book, go for it.
Cool, man. All right. So let's start here at the beginning. Obviously Nightmare, an amazing record. One, I truly, you guys had a lot of momentum going on. I mean, you're coming off the self-titled, then to live at the LBC, and then this was like, This record was moving, right? I mean, you guys, how far were you guys into this process when Jimmy passed away? How far into Nightmare, the record recording?
So I would say songwriting wise, we were probably 95% done.
Wow.
But a lot of the lyrics hadn't been written. Obviously, I wrote them about 90% of them ended up being about him.
Yeah.
I remember in the beginning, we wanted to do like a loose concept album, and it was going to start off with the song Nightmare. I had the lyrics for that. And then I don't know exactly where it was going to go, but we were trying to figure that out. We had multiple meetings with Mike Elizondo, our producer, who at the time, it was his first rock record he was going to do. And we were kind of giving him a shot because he came from the hip hop world.
Right.
And so we would sit in my home studio. He would come down from LA, and then Jimmy, me, and Brian, we'd sit in there and we would just show him songs and we would try out ideas. So we were very far along. We were ready to go track, within a month, and we were going to do it for real. So yeah, most of it was done. And then that happened, he OD'd, and that was it. And then we put everything on hold for a long time after that, but we were done pretty much.
Wow. By the way, you speaking about the hip hop thing, I remember back on the self-titled record, you telling me about the 808 and how much you love that sound.
Yeah,
was that why you chose that producer, by the way? I mean, just, that field, your love for like hip hop and different genres of music.
Well, we definitely thought that he could bring like an authenticity to some of the stuff we were trying to do, instead of like, rock band playing with their little keyboard and hitting their 808s.
Sure.
We could do it like for real. But a lot of it came down to, a lot of the rock producers, and not all of them, but a lot of them are very factory-like. They do certain things a certain way that rock bands are supposed to do. And we kept getting names from people, and we were doing interviews with these people, but it just didn't excite us at all to do, this guy's done 20 other rock records this year, and they all kind of sound the same. And
sure.
And so we were, the idea came from our A&R guy, Andy Oliphant. And he's like, I'm working with this guy, Mike Elizondo. He wrote some songs for Eminem. He's working with Dr. Dre. But he grew up a metalhead. Like, he loves metal. Like, if you talk to him about Iron Maiden or Megadeth, the guy just loves metal.
Cool.
And so we had a meeting with him, and it was just like, yes, this is the guy. Like, this is our guy, because he comes from a different world. Sonically, he can do things for us that other rock producers maybe can't. And but he knows metal. He's not going to try to make us into some weird, hip hop new metal thing. He's going to let us be us. So
Sure.
that's why we did it.
Okay. So again, going back to that momentum that you guys had going, is there a lot of pressure when it comes to an Avenged Sevenfold record to keep things on that same level, or just keep, the upward climb going? Like, you can't look back. You just got to keep blazing a new trail with this, whether it be a new sound or, again, just keeping that momentum going. Is that important to you guys as a band?
I think it was important to us back in those days because there was a lot of drivers, right? There was you had a lot of radio stations doing what you guys do. A lot of those radio stations have gone away. And then you have a lot of, you have MTV at the time, and you have all these things that can drive a rock record. So there's this momentum happening. Nowadays, not so much, it's kind of like Spotify playlists. There's a few great radio stations left, but in LA or California, we get no play because there's no one playing anything like what we do.
Sure.
And so we don't really have, it's going to be very hard to have the same sort of momentum when there's no CD sales. It's going off of streaming numbers. Hip hop and country and all that stream much better than rock. So it really is irrelevant now. Now it's about solidifying that fan base and giving those people more access and cooler things. And I think going more in depth with your fan base instead of that momentum that was happening in the early 2000s. But that was a fun time. It was very fun. And I think, unfortunately, one of the momentum drivers for us was Jimmy dying. Yeah. I mean, the fact that a rock drummer from a pretty well-established band passed away brought us even more attention. And it was like, well, what are they going to do next? And then we had Mike Portnoy come on, and it was like, there was all these things that happened, good or bad, that made people really interested in what Nightmare was going to be.
Yeah.
And that kind of moved on to Hail to the King. And then after Hail to the King, the whole world, the landscape changed for music. It's just different now.
Yeah, totally. Talk about that. Mark Portnoy coming to being part of the band there and helping out for a couple of years time, or what was it, like 2 years time about that?
Yeah.
How did that come to be? I mean, I know the story, but feel free to tell it over again. Some folks.
Yeah, we got a lot of love from bands that we knew, but then we got a lot of love from the community of drummers that we didn't necessarily know. There was Vinnie Paul and Mike Portnoy and all these people involved, and we had this record, and at first we didn't want to record it, right? We were like, we think the band's dead, it's done. Like, we just lost our best friend. Hold on, kids are coming in. Hold on. I'm gonna change rooms. I'm in an interview. The madness.
That's awesome, dude.
The madness, dude.
Yeah.
So I thought the band decided that since it was kind of a technical record and there was songs like Save Me, which is like 11 minutes long and very prog-esque, very influenced by Dream Theater.
Sure.
We thought we would, throw a line out there and be like, hey, do you want to help us out on this record? We didn't really know Mike. We didn't know Mike at all before this. Like, we just knew that Jimmy was a huge fan. We listened to Dream Theater, and he happened to be doing a NAMM performance soon after Jimmy had passed away, and we decided we were going to continue. And so we went out to dinner with him. We tossed out a line and started talking to him, and he came back very excited to help us out and wanted to do the record. And we were just besides ourselves because we were trying to mourn. We're trying to put together the record. We're trying to finish what Jimmy had started with us. It was just a chaotic time, and Mike was perfect for it because he learned the parts. He's obviously a very capable guy.
Yeah.
In terms of drumming. And he came in prepared, and he allowed us to do what we needed to do while he, nailed it on the drums. So it was perfect for us. And then, afterwards, we didn't think we were going to tour. And then we decided that, hey, if Mike will tour, we'll do it, because now it kind of makes sense. Like, he's a part of the record. He's a part of our family now.
Sure.
We've spent a bunch of time with him in the studio. And that's kind of how he helped us get back on our feet and get back into the live performance thing. And man, I remember our first time walking on stage in Canada, and it was just terrifying. Like, we're going out on stage without Jimmy, and we've got Mike, who is kind of trying to learn old songs, and we got this record, and it was just chaos. It was emotionally draining. Wasn't
one of your first shows of the Nightmare tour in Minneapolis as well?
One of them was, yeah. But the very first show was actually, it was it was, the festival's huge now. It's that metal festival they have up in Canada.
Okay.
And now it's really big. But the first one was in Canada, and I remember it was a bunch of signs and people were like, rest in peace, Rev. And it was like, you just felt, I don't think we played very well, but it
Sure.
didn't matter. You know, we
Yeah.
were just very emotional.
Sure,
So
sure.
it was crazy.
So you've talked about, you know, the band getting together and not knowing if you were going to go on. What's that conversation like? There's got to be just a ton of tears and emotions to finally come to the conclusion, hey, we're going to move on. We're going to keep doing this thing. From, you know, it's like you're on the brink of not being a band anymore to keeping going. How does that go? How does that conversation?
Yeah. It was one step at a time.
Sure.
You know, like it was like, I remember sitting there like New Year's Eve and everyone's partying in Times Square.
Yeah.
And I remember being so, and just so bitter, and like we just lost our best friend. People are partying and we're just sitting at the house like, band's done, fucking Jimmy's gone, life's horrible.
Right.
Like, and then, but like I said, you slowly work your way out of it. And so I think it was like 2 weeks later, sitting at the same house, we're at Johnny's house, and sitting there going like, should we finish the record? Like, should we do it? Like, it's just sitting there. Call Michael Elizondo. What are we gonna do? And so it was just one step at a time. We'll finish the record, but there's no way we're touring. You know, and then it was like, okay, we'll do one tour, but there's no way we're doing it. And so it's just the human spirit of it. Like, okay, we can do this. We can get on our feet again. Fans helped a lot.
Sure.
The fans were so understanding.
Sure.
They were so amazing at the shows, reaching out to us. So it's just one step at a time. I think it's like that probably for anybody, right?
Yeah, for sure. To read that some of, or if not most of Jimmy's drum fills were done, what does that mean from a person that doesn't understand? His drum fills were done. So he'd already laid these parts of the drum parts already down, and Portnoy worked around those, or did he redo those, or how did that?
Yeah, so it was a little bit different on every song, but Jimmy, because we were demoing the songs that we were pretty much done with them, Jimmy had laid down all the the bones of the skeleton of what
Sure.
the drums would be like. Is it a blast beat here? Is it this? Is it that? What kind of fill is going to take us into from 4/4 to 3? Like, he had a lot of those things that were just his intuition for like what he was going to do.
Okay.
It was all down, but it was on an electronic like little remote kit, right? So it's like, it was just like demos. So they were great to give to Mike, so that Mike could sit there and like, some things were, you know, some things were more finished than others. So some things Mike had to really like, okay, what's he trying to do here? And some things were just like, oh, that we want that. That was his first like take at it, but that was like how it should be. So it was kind of in between. So Mike had to do some work, definitely.
Gotcha.
But Jimmy had like the skeleton down.
Do you have a favorite song off Nightmare? Personal favorite song?
For sure, it's for sure Buried Alive.
Why is that?
I just think it was us hitting our songwriting stride. I think it was creative enough to where it's like not really a ballad and not really a heavy song, but I think when you take the parts, it could have been their own songs. That reminds me of like Led Zeppelin or something. Like that beginning is very classical and classic in my opinion, and then the end comes in hard. I just thought we did a really good job of making something unique, and different, but still listenable and not too all over the place. I just think it's a solid song. I love it.
Did I read that Rob Zombie was going to direct the video, or you guys were working with Rob to try and come up with the treatment for the video? Is that true?
We did reach out to him and we were trying to do something, but I think the schedules didn't match up, if I remember correctly, where he was doing a movie and it just didn't make sense to wait. And it also didn't make sense for him to stop what he was doing to do a music video.
Sure. Who came up with
May have come down to some budget too.
I'm sure. I'm sure he probably asked a lot of loot to get a video. I don't know. Who came up with the title?
Yeah, and it's like the fourth single off a record.
Right.
Well, we had that initial song, and it was finished before Jimmy passed away with those lyrics. And I think that word just kind of really encapsulated what we were going through.
Sure.
So we just left it as the title of the record.
How do you know when a song is done? When you're in the studio and you're putting in all that work and you're so close to these damn songs, how do you know when it's done?
Man, it's hard to say. Like,
Sure.
you just know when a song feels, like, if you really like a song, you just, it's different for every song. It's so hard to answer that. Some songs you just know stuck. There's some things about them that you're just like, either it's the chorus or the verse, and you're like, that can use work. And some things, like, they just, sometimes we have a vision beforehand where we're like, we want this to be more, we want this to be a longer song, or we just did a song that's shorter and now we want to do something bigger. And then at that point, you have all these pieces, and then you can kind of say, well, that didn't work out or that worked out. But at some point, you just got to put it to bed and move on, because you could drive yourself crazy if you just keep trying to fix and noodle with things that, I mean, it's like anything. You could sit there and work on a platform or a computer program or an email over and over.
Sure.
But at some point, you just got to put it out there and give it to the world.
How important was it for you to work with Andy Wallace for the mixing? How important was that?
Andy is my favorite mixer ever, because we usually hand him so many tracks. And then when we get it back, none of our records sound the same. He's not putting it through the Andy Wallace, lens. He's giving us what we want, but he's allowing you to hear everything we've given him. So, like, you can kind of sit there and go, like, if I want to listen to the bass, I can hear it. If I want to listen to that third guitar, I can hear it. He has does such a great job of making something sound big and full, but also with all the layers, you can hear every layer. So to me, he's just so important every time. He's my favorite.
Sure. I remember you telling me that was really important to you to have him work with you on that record, for sure. Were you starting to have any problems, vocal problems on this record at all? Was this about the time, or was it after?
No, way after. I didn't have vocal problems till 2017.
Oh, okay, cool. And you're all healed up now? Everything's good to go?
I feel good, man. I'm just working on a new technique so that I can make sure I don't have any problems anymore.
Good.
So that's what I've been doing for the last year. That's what I've been doing, is switching up a lot of things, singing from a different place, and just making sure that when I hit the stage again, I don't resort back to old bad habits.
Sure. Is there a hard song for you guys to play from Nightmare live that's just difficult to pull off?
I think Save Me is difficult.
Sure.
It's so long. There's so many parts, and it's like, it just goes and goes and goes. I think songs like Nightmare and Buried Alive, we've played so much.
Sure.
That it's like second nature at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you bust out a thing like Save Me, even Natural Born Killer is like a thrash song, so it's very demanding of the drums and the guitars and the vocals. They're just nonstop. It's like, we never gave me a chance to stop. So it gets a little crazy.
I remember hanging out with you after the Metallica, the after party. You guys we were at that club, wherever the hell it was, and Jimmy's dad was at the after party, and he was telling me a story about you. I guess you guys, when you were kids or whatever, and you had some kind of potato launcher gun or something like that. And he said you were always the troublemaker.
His son was the troublemaker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's just put it this way. We never heard a bad idea between the two of us. We got in a lot of trouble.
Sure.
We had a water balloon launcher, and we were launching stuff from my parents' house's balcony to a house down the street, and the guy kept coming out, couldn't find out where we were.
Sure.
And we were hitting him over and over all night till finally he caught us, and he brought all the vegetables and potatoes and everything we launched. He brought it over and started banging on our door at 2 a.m.
Wow.
And we were trying to pretend like we were asleep, right? Like we didn't know what was happening. Oh, dude, it was not good. We got in a lot of trouble.
Dude, I bet you got a million stories from back in the day. That's great. I love hearing that stuff. Yeah. That's really, really cool. Well, thanks for spending the time, man. I'll quickly ask, just because I know a lot of A7X fans. What I know, are you guys working on tunes right now? Is that, you get that standard question all the time, but is that kind of the process? You guys just enjoying your family, being safe with COVID-19, of course, but yet still working on stuff?
Yeah, we're working on stuff. We have pretty much 70% of the record done. We have some things we can't finish right now because of COVID.
Right.
String players, etc. Andy, we know Andy doesn't want to travel, or his management doesn't want him to travel.
Yep.
his management doesn't want him to travel because of COVID. And so they're trying to, there's just a lot of things going on. That doesn't make sense for us right now to put out a record, not be able to tour it. The world has changed. Putting out a record on Spotify is you know, without touring for a rock band just doesn't make sense to us.
Sure.
So we're going to wait till everything's back. Then we'll come out with the record, finish it up, and all be good.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks again for your time, dude. Nightmare, one of my all-time favorite records. Obviously, I got to know you guys years before that, but it was awesome to see the evolution of where you guys are yet today. But yet during that time, boy, it was such a tumultuous time. I remember being around you guys in Chicago. I could see the pain on your face because this was shortly after, the Rev had passed, and you guys were out there touring, and it wasn't the same. You could put it on the stage. It looked awesome. You guys looked amazing. You did your show, but backstage when you had to go back to real life, I could see you guys were in pain for damn sure, man. So I'm so thankful that y'all keep trucking, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. You've been a big part of our evolution here, and yeah, that was a crazy time, and crazy to even think about that it's that long ago. It's kind of gnarly.
Shit, yeah. You can see it back there. I got my Hail to the King.
Yeah, I see that.
Nightmare Records over there. A couple of guitars from the boys up on the walls over there. So Johnny just
that's awesome.
So I love you guys, dude.
Nice.
So, be well, dude. Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
All right, dude. Peace.
Later.